Excited about today's show. We got the whole team here with us today, and we're ready to jump right into it. We're going to talk a lot about playoffs, NBA basketball season, moving into the playoffs. Of course, we here at the Political Sports Raps are big basketball fans. We're also going to talk politics as usual, and we have some good hip hop dialogue that we want to hopefully get our listening audience to digest. But
put out there, what does that mean, playoff experiences? And then how does that translate over when you're in the first round of the playoffs?
Because it's a whole different ball game.
I think preparation is important. I think understanding the dynamics of traveling is important. I think the adjustments, the adjustments in the series, and I think the level of poise.
How does Darren Williams and Joe Johnson do that for the team?
Leadership.
They've been there before. It's not nothing new to them.
Stay calm, guys. Let's not get erratic. Don't comment to the press. This is same routine on the road, how to get off the
I just think those are things that they already know.
No. I mean, when your whole team, basically their whole team, I mean, they went to playoffs last year, right? But you have a team full of players who've never probably went past the second or third round. Never.
One round. Darren Williams didn't pass the second and third round.
No, he's been to the Western Conference Finals. We have a number of bridges in our city that essentially are a little bit outdated. So in the midst of, how can we future-proof or improve the physical structure of our city, bridges would, I think, be a good thing to add to the list as well, along with potholes. Absolutely. Especially when you look at the type of city we are as it relates to how we travel. This is a car city. I know that a lot of people feel like one of the improvements that we should have in the city as far as the structure and the planning in the future of the city is bike lanes and more safe bike lanes. I know me specifically, the Bike Coalition is one of the organizations in the city that kind of promotes that, but at the same time, we're still a city that travels by vehicle a lot. We do use public transportation. You see an increase in the amount of people that bike, but with the amount of traveling that we do in cars, the bridges are important
because our metropolitan area isn't that big compared to other cities like New York or something like that. Like Center City really isn't that big. So a lot of people that are going to the city are coming from the outside, North Philadelphia, South, West, and the suburbs around. So
talking about adding more, opening more libraries and adding more computers in the actual libraries. This is a simple question of access. Like how can you make sure that people get access to the things that they don't necessarily have or might not have within their household, so there's an even playing field.
And have the access be available in all areas, because another thing is like in our schools. So like where do we learn about technology? In school. But if the school isn't technologically updated,
right.
You still using ancient stuff in the school.
Right. I would bet most schools I would bet, well, I'm not gonna say I would bet. I know most schools don't have smart boards. Smart boards are, for our listener audience that don't know, a smart board is basically a chalkboard, a modern day chalkboard that's hooked up to a computer. So if I decide to pull up a YouTube video in class, you can see a smart board. If I decide to, anything that you want to do dealing with the computer and technology, I can have it as a board and do it right there in the spot, but it still has that traditional, opportunity for you to go and just write something on the board. Most of our classrooms, most of our schools essentially don't have that. Another thing I would say is that's important is digital applications, like having job applications that people can fill out on their phone. City jobs specifically. Why? Because people say that there's a digital divide. They say that.
Now what about those who aren't, physically inclined and they can't use that?
Right. So they still have the paper applications. Paper applications still exist.
Okay, so I get what you're saying, because there isn't a divide.
Yeah, because this is the thing. If you have internet access, right, you can go on the internet and fill out a job application. But let's say think about how many people only go on the internet through their phone.
Right.
So when I say, I'm saying a mobile job application. Like mobile job applications essentially looks at the idea that if I don't have a computer, I probably still got a smartphone. And even though we talk about the digital divide, a lot of people who might be considered part of the folks who don't necessarily have access to the internet still has access to social media. And most people who have access to social media, you access it through your phone. So it's like the hip hop tied to you, but I think most people who are considered cool will have that hip hop DNA somewhere in them. It's not, and I do think it's going to be very easy for her to tap into pop culture. I think she's very popular. Even when she announced the amount of people who posted something about her and announcing on my timeline to me was crazy. And the fact that most of those people weren't like political people. These were like party promoters. Like I seen that's you know, I'm not saying party promoters are hip hop artists, but party promoting is just a small aspect of hip hop culture. And these are people who have influence, who have followers, and automatically they're reposting Hillary Jennifer cousin. It's a cool thing to do, and people want to be a part of history. They want to be able to say that they had, you know, a role into getting something done that's never been done before. Isn't that progress?
But if you're not politically like knowledgeable and people's running, what's the name that stands out the most?
Hillary
Right.
Clinton.
So
Clinton all day.
That's probably
All
why
day.
that happened.
And I would